teams' win total just dropped, and just like last week's awards, we don't agree with the numbers. So today, we're talking about all 30 squads and predict what their record will be. Let's get it. Welcome back to another edition of the Hampton Show. Joel, how are we feeling today?
I'm doing great. The NBA offseason hasn't been historic like Shams Charania has said it was going to be, but there have been a lot of good moves, and I feel like this upcoming NBA season is going to be very interesting.
Absolutely. Today, we're breaking down every NBA team's win total for next season, but first, we've got some brand new intel on Giannis Antetokounmpo. 1 month after the Bucks signed Miles Turner, it seems like he's not all the way sold on the move. The clock's obviously been ticking on this, but now it's ticking faster than ever, Joel, because on August 27th, he is suiting up for Greece in a major European tournament called Eurobasket. That tournament ends right before NBA training camp at the end of September. So that's kind of forced him to have some tougher conversations before he leaves for Greece instead of, having those conversations into September and before training camp. So according to Shams, those conversations this week, they got pretty tense. In fact, at the end of his last sit down with the franchise, Giannis reportedly kept repeating one question, and it is, can I win a championship with this roster? Joel, you and I both know the answer to that question, but what we don't know is what Giannis is going to do from here. So let's kind of play this out. Which of these three scenarios feels most likely to you? The first one, he starts and finishes the season with Milwaukee. He starts the season, but demands a trade at the deadline if, the record isn't up to par in February. And the third scenario is he asks out before training camp. Which of those three do you see happening?
He starts and ends the season with Milwaukee, and I think he requests a trade after this year. Playing with Greece in the Eurobasket tournament is going to give him a lot of practice for playing with Milwaukee because he's going to have to carry both of those teams. Both of those rosters are terrible, and Miles Turner, bringing him in, does nothing for the Bucks in their title hopes. He's a good player, and if Dame was healthy with Miles Turner, if Dame didn't get bought out, if there's a lot of different Pandora boxes that you can open up. But then you have to get into it that Miles Turner doesn't go to the Bucks if Dame is healthy because they weren't able to waive and stretch his salary. But right now, with the current roster of Miles Turner, Kevin Porter Jr., Kyle Kuzma, and Ryan Rollins and Gary Trent, no, this team is not good enough. And I think that all offseason should have been the offseason where Giannis is requesting a trade because we all know the writing is on the wall. He shouldn't even have to ask the front office if he can win a championship in Milwaukee because the answer is no. And he knows that. And back in 2021, the answer was no if the Nets had stayed healthy too.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a theme with these European players. Luka, we know his loyalty to a franchise. Obviously, he was shipped out of Dallas, but him and Nico's Harrison's relationship they were at odds for a long, long time. And Luka was willing to look over that and, finish his career in Dallas. I think Luka viewed it. He would outlast Nico Harrison. Giannis, it's a similar situation because no matter what this front office has done to mess up this roster or whatever trigger they have pulled for him, he knows deep down this roster cannot win a championship, but that European loyalty is still with him. That's why I think he's still considering this. When you look at this from a team building perspective, you're right. If they don't waive Damian Lillard, they couldn't get Miles Turner, but the nail in the coffin of this current constructed roster was the Kyle Kuzma trade. He's not making an inordinate amount of money, but he is making a role player starting caliber salary, and he's not giving you that. He didn't give you that in the playoffs, and he didn't give you that since he has been traded there. The problem with John Horst, the GM, is there's no more levers to pull. The first one was firing Bud a year after winning a championship. That did not work. The second one was moving on from Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard. That one did not work. The third one, now we're talking about trading for Kyle Kuzma in the middle of the season. That did not work, shipping out Chris Middleton. And now waiving Damian Lillard, signing Miles Turner. They just keep digging their hole and grave deeper and deeper and deeper. And at some point, if I'm John Horst and Giannis demands a trade, I may put in my resignation because what shot does this team have to rebuild over the next 5 years? They don't have one. They have $20 million on their books until 2030. They're going to be paying Damian Lillard most likely after he retires 5 years from now. If I'm John Horst, I'm done with this team. If I'm Giannis Antetokounmpo, I'm done with this team as well.
Being able to recognize trends is so important as an NBA GM, and John Horst wasn't able to do that. Regardless of talking about the draft pick debacle, which the Bucks have not been able to draft any good
No.
players in the first round in the back end, and you can argue the last decade. I mean, that's how long it's been. They really have had no success in the draft and trying to surround Giannis with even good role players. But the trend of building around a star with depth and a ton of good players because of their willingness to go star hunting and go after Dame, that sunk the franchise. They gave up all their assets to go get Damian Lillard, who's an offensive centric star, when you have a defensive oriented player. And what won them the championship in 2021 was their defensive identity. They kind of wanted to have a balance of the two, and I understand that. In allocating so many assets and so much salary to Dame, they were not able to bring in any help around those two. And that's why the Bucks over the last couple of years with Giannis and Dame, although they have not been fully healthy in the playoffs, the roster around them has been subpar. They've been old, they've been slow, and they lacked any defensive personnel on the perimeter. And because John Horst didn't recognize the trend earlier of building around a star with depth, it ended up costing them because there was a pathway where the Bucks could have been competitive in this moment and could have given Giannis a real chance to win an NBA championship if they had built the team the correct way. They basically depreciated and milked out all their assets, and now they're here where they have nothing to offer nobody, and they are stuck.
100%. And I'm not going to sit here and act like if I was in that same position, I wouldn't pull the trigger on Damian Lillard. On paper, I think it seemed like the perfect fit. But what was not accounted for is the off the court stuff. Damian Lillard going through a divorce. Damian Lillard being separated from his children by hundreds of miles. What effect would that have on him personally that would affect him on the court? I think the off the court stuff is the reason that Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't work. I remember this time last year, they were going into their second season together, and at media day in September of 2024, they asked, "Hey, how many times did, Giannis, you and Dame link up this summer?" And the answer was none. And they both tried to brush it off. There wasn't even a attempt to try to develop chemistry in the offseason last summer. So I think the off the court stuff was the ultimate downfall of those two. But you're right. They could have recognized the trend earlier. They could have made better decisions, but they pushed their chips all in for Damian Lillard. I can't say I blame them.
I can't blame him either. I mean, he's an all NBA player. He's coming off a spectacular season where he was averaging 30 on insane efficiency, but that's what they have to live with now, and we'll see. I think Giannis does play the season out. Do you think he plays the season out?
I do. I do. I wouldn't be surprised. I think if I had to rank them, number one would be starting and finishing the season in Milwaukee. The second one, and it's a close second for me, if they start the season 5 to 10 games under 500 and they're sitting at that in February, I wouldn't be surprised to see one of the biggest trades in NBA history happen. But let's
I
move
just
out.
can't imagine like a star of his caliber getting traded in the middle of the season. Like,
It's
when's
a
the last time that that's happened?
Yeah. I think Luka obviously nobody saw coming. He never hit the
Yeah,
market and stuff.
you're right. Luka was just last year.
Exactly. We didn't see that coming. That happened. This is obviously a different situation. It feels like we've seen the end for a long, long time. But because of that, is why I think this is even more likely to happen in February. The Spurs have been sitting there waiting for. We're going to talk about the Fox extension later, but there have been so many teams that have been waiting for this moment and getting their offers ready internally. I think that if he made that call even one day before the trade deadline, every team in the NBA would be ready with their offer. There would be no conversation with any of them. It would just be ready to happen.
That's understandable. I could see that.
Let's head out to LA. Over the weekend, Luka revealed that he's lost exactly 30 pounds. He dropped from 265 to 235. He also signed that massive extension with LA. And at his press conference, almost every single teammate showed up to support. except for LeBron James. Here's to me where it got a little weird. LeBron was in Los Angeles that same day, but instead of being at the Lakers facility, he posted a photo at the Clippers facility. It was a weird move, didn't understand his angle from it. But when GM Rob Pelinka was asked about it, he played it cool. He said the dialogue with LeBron has been open and constant. He didn't say much more than that. He obviously brought up that he wants to retire, wants him to retire as a Laker. Joel, my question to you is, why do you think LeBron was not at his teammate's big day?
I have no idea. I think it's probably because he just wanted to work out and he just needed to find a gym to do it, and it happened to be the Clippers gym. Maybe LeBron is this mastermind that, he's just so calculated in every single move he does and how he's viewed and the message that he's relaying out. I think things would be a lot more effective if he's just open and upfront about it instead of being cryptic, because we saw him at the Cavaliers practice facility not too long ago. Now we see him at the Clippers practice facility. Not being there for Luka is definitely a red flag. But all I can say is that the Lakers have control over him for this upcoming season. He accepted his player option and he's going to be on the team. This is not a scenario where he's forcing his way out or he's demanding something. It's, the Lakers, they have him for this upcoming year. And even with all the drama that he comes with, he still gives them the best chance to win and the best possible co-star for Luka at the moment. He's still a top 10-ish player in the NBA, still playing at a very high level, and you need a player like that to play with Luka if you want to go on a deep run.
100% agree to everything you said on the back end of it. The front end of it, of he just needed a gym to work out in, so that's what he decided to do. Let's not sit here and act like everything he does isn't calculated. It is. You mentioned all of the laundry list of things he's done just this summer. Forgot to mention the Knicks towel last year. You forgot to mention the cryptic Rich Paul statement that was released. He never clears the air and is on purpose. I don't know what the motive is behind it. I don't know if it's that Jerry Jones mantra of, hey, I just want to be in the headlines at all times type of stuff. That's not my job to figure out. What our job is to do is react to this team on the court, and you're 100% right. As far as co-stars go, he is the best possible co-star that the Lakers can get right now. But this time last year, Anthony Davis was the best possible co-star to LeBron James. So we will see what happens as this season goes on. But all of these off-season strange tactics that he is taking, I'm just bookmarking them, and whenever, if something big happens, then we know why. But I'm 100% with you. He will start the season with the Lakers. We'll just see if he finishes with the Lakers and or retire. Let's get into the reason that we recorded this podcast. We're predicting every NBA's win total, every NBA team's win total this season. We're going over and under. All these numbers are from FanDuel Sportsbook. We're starting with the Atlanta Hawks. 46.5 wins for them in the Eastern Conference. You going under or over for that, Joel?
I see them as a 50-win team this year if they stay healthy. If Porzingis can play 50 games, if Trae Young can play the majority of the season, if Jalen Johnson, who got hurt last year, could play a full season, there's no reason why he should be injury prone as early as he is in his career, but I guess we'll see this year. I see them as a 50-win team. I think they're going to be that good.
I do too. I see them as that as well, but it's not because, I trust Kristaps Porzingis. It's the rest of the Eastern Conference. I think they're going to take advantage of that. Right now, they got the fourth best odds to win that conference, and I think they're going to beat up on the bottom 11 in that conference. So I see them going over 46.5. Boston Celtics is an interesting one. 42.5 is a number on them.
I'm going under. I think they're going to be really bad. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA. Yes, if they're healthy, they'll be competitive. When you have Jaylen Brown and Derek White, they'll be fine. But I do think that like every season, there's going to be nagging injuries to a star. Mm-hmm. Like every season, I mean, if you lose three players actually, that were major parts of your team in Jrue Holiday, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis, the load on Derek White and Jaylen Brown gets heavier, and then you open yourself up to maybe getting hurt if you're playing an exorbitant amount of minutes to just win these games. So I think that there's going to come a time in the season where these players are going to be managed by the team because the team understands that they have no chance to compete this year. Jason Tatum's not coming back this year. They need to get a top pick. This is a really good draft class, and Brad Stevens is a very savvy and forward-thinking GM, and I think that's going to be their game plan. I'm going under. This team will not be a 500 team.
I'm going under, but it's for a different reason. I don't think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I think that's an exaggeration, but obviously they moved on from Georges Niang. They signed Chris Boucher over the last week or so. You're right. They're not going to have a winning record. I think Jaylen Brown, Derek White is good enough to get you 35 to 40, but I don't see this as, a low 30 or a high 20 win caliber team. Let's go to the Brooklyn Nets, 20 and a half. You going under on this one?
I'm going under. I think they're terrible. They're trash. I really find a hard time seeing how they're going to beat a team 20 times. It's
Yeah.
going to be difficult, especially if they're starting Yegor Demin. Like this team, they just lost Cam Johnson.
Yep.
I know they brought an MPJ, but no, this team's going to be bad.
Yep. I'm taking the under. They're going to aggressively tank, but how many times do they have to realize this shit does not work in 2025? It's not guaranteed. So the odds are flatter than people make them out to be in the NBA lottery, and I think the front offices need to catch up to that. There's a reason that the Mavericks and the Atlanta Hawks have won the last two lotteries. It's not going to teams like Utah, Washington, or Brooklyn. And the sooner they figure that shit out, become a little bit more competitive, it might be the sooner they get rewarded. These next two teams are bottom feeders in the East as well. Got the Bulls at 30 and a half and the Hornets at 27 and a half.
I like the Bulls at 30 and a half, especially if Josh Giddey comes back.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good year last year. He
Mm-hmm.
shot the ball well, and I think that's his swing skill. If he can continue shooting the ball well, I think that he'll be a good NBA player. So I'm going over on the Bulls. And what was the other team that you mentioned?
The Hornets 27 and a half.
They should go over, right? I mean,
Yes.
when are they going to become a good team? Like, I think this is the year.
Yep. I'm with you on the Hornets. I'm taking over on 27 and a half. I realize this is me betting on LaMelo's health, but I also think they got better around him in the offseason. This is the first competent Hornets offseason I can remember in a long, long time. B-Mill needs to step up big time and needs to stay healthy as well for this to happen. But the Bulls, we disagree on under. The Giddey thing's still not resolved. I don't know how much feelings are going to be involved in that. If he ends up, backing himself into a corner and betting on himself again on a one-year deal, I don't know how much that is going to help. Montes Buzelis, as much as you believe in him, whatever, I just don't think it's going to lead to winning. Cleveland
So
Cavaliers.
30 and a half. So you think the Bulls are going to get like 28, 29 wins?
100%. Yep.
What?
That's exactly
They
what
had
I
more
believe.
than that this past year. They had the same team.
Yeah, they had more than that this last year. Zach LaVine was there for half the season.
Maybe I'm wrong, but they rattled off a lot of wins without Zach LaVine.
The Lonzo Ball trade makes them objectively worse too. I mean,
It does,
yeah.
but he is also not available.
Okay, that's a fair point. But like Patrick Williams, Vucevic at 82 years old, like I
Kobe
have
White.
nothing. If I'm a Bulls fan, the only thing I'm excited about is Montes Buzelis, and I understand that excitement, but it's not excitement that's going to lead to winning. I don't care what this Eastern Conference looks like. I think there is going to be such a stark difference between the top 3, 4, 5 of the East and the bottom 9 or 10 in the East. I do believe whenever this team has to play anybody competent, including in the Western Conference or top 5 in the East, they're not going to be able to compete.
I think that the Bulls have a chance to have a similar amount of wins as the Celtics.
Jaylen Brown is far and away better than anybody on that Bulls roster. Derek White,
They have
White
two or
right
three
now
players.
is better than anybody on that Bulls roster. I think that the Celtics winning 35 games and I'm not talking about the Bulls being a 15-win team. I'm talking about 30 wins or 29 wins. That's the under I'm taking.
They just made the play-in.
For a third year in a row, they've gotten worse year over year, and we see them play a incompetent Hawks team without all the new additions they have and get blown out of the water.
All right. You're not wrong. I think once they get to the play-in, things get muddy, but they just won 39 games.
Joel, you out of all people should know this. These last 2 months of the NBA regular season, when we're looking at March and April basketball, whenever Giddey gets hot and the Bulls, end up being a fun little team at the end of the season, that shit 90% of the time does not carry over.
I don't think it does all the time, but they were one of the fastest paced teams in the league. They had a top 10 offensive rating. They could put the ball in the basket.
Yeah, they couldn't defend shit. They won't be able to defend shit.
They're one of the most fun teams to watch.
Stop. They were not in the top. They were not in the top 15 teams to watch in the NBA, much less the most fun.
Yeah, I probably could rattle off a list, but it'd take too much time. You can go on
Yeah,
to the
we've
next
already
one.
spent too much time on the Bulls. Wasn't on my bingo card. That's what I love about us. All right, let's get into let's go to the West. Dallas Mavericks, 40.5 is the number on them.
I'm going over. This is dependent on health. I just think that if they don't get over 40 wins, I mean, if they're not a 500 team, this is a disappointing season. Anthony Davis, you're expecting him to be healthy, but then again, he got hurt with them last year. You're expecting Cooper Flag to be an immediate impact rookie, and all of the depth on this team is pretty solid. And D'Angelo Russell being the stopgap point guard until Kyrie gets back. I mean, this team should be a 500 team at the very least. And if they're not, it'll be disappointing. I'm going to go over. This feels like an easy over, too. I'd rather bank on the health of
No.
AD. I'm not going to go under on this. No way.
Well, to me, it's going to be a disappointing season. I'm taking the under. They have no real point guard on this team. Their best player is a 7-footer coming off a lower leg injury. We know how many times Anthony Davis has been injured. Kyrie is out for the year. Flag is going to be, I think, a multi-time All-Star in this league, but is he ready to carry that much of a ball handling load in the NBA? We shall see. He didn't have to do that at Duke. I think in his first year, it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. I get they have some good role players around them, but when you have no real ball handler on this roster, and D'Angelo Russell, yes, you can play him in spots, but there's a reason that a mediocre Lakers team gave up on him. It was because of the effort defensively. And no matter who you have behind you, I don't know if Anthony Davis is going to be there. I don't know Derek Lively with his injury history is going to be there. We shall see, but I'm taking the under on the Dallas Mavericks.
I think they're too good to take that under on. I think like you're banking on all the low end stuff. What if they reach some of the middle things? Like what if AD has a fairly healthy season? You see them going under 40 and a half?
The West is too good for them to have all of these unanswered questions. This is a different conference than we're talking about in the East. In the West, there's 7 to 9 teams who know exactly who they are, and Dallas, to me, right now, is not one of them.
I think they have a sound identity. They are defensive first team and they have elite defensive personnel with AD and Gafford or Lively and Cooper Flag. And then off the bench, you have PJ Washington and Najee Marshall. You still have Klay Thompson, who's still a premier shooter. D'Lo can shoot the ball too. I mean, they have a good team. This is a lot of depth on this team. Max Christie.
Okay. D'Angelo Russell, by the way, on a defensive identity team is not ideal. I don't know
No.
who's going to play point guard when he's not in there. And by the way, he's not a natural
Brandon
point guard.
Williams.
Yeah, but Brandon Williams is going to go in and take 22 shots a game. That's where he's been.
I think that I just feel like not going over on this is kind of crazy. I mean, this team, you're looking at them from you're looking at them with a half glass full, I would say, or half glass empty, I should
There
say.
you go. There you
That's
go.
better.
Yeah.
Half glass empty. That's how you're looking at them.
I'm looking at them through a reality glass. Kyrie's not here. Anthony Davis has been injured, and Cooper Flag's a young guy. I think next year this is an easy over when Kyrie and all them guys are back. But until then, I'm taking the under. Stick in the West. Denver Nuggets, 53.5.
I'm going over. I feel like this is their floor with Nikola Jokic. I feel like they have a better chance to touch 60 wins than be at around 53. I see ideally like 56 to 58 wins, but no, this team got better. They added depth. They added Cam Johnson for a much less price tag than they had MPJ for. And I like it. I like the offseason they had. And you have Nikola Jokic, who's one of the greatest floor raisers in NBA history. So give me the over on this.
Yeah, I'm taking the over as well. Depth in a backup center. Finally, I see it as you 56 to 58 wins for them. Detroit Pistons are 45.5 in the East.
I feel like the Pistons have a chance to be a surprise team. We talk about Atlanta. We talk about Orlando. I think Detroit has a chance to be better than both of those teams.
Yep.
Because they didn't make any splash moves, but they're trusting their internal development. And I like Cade more than I like Paolo. I like Cade more than I like Trae Young. Jaden Ivey is coming back. Jalen Duren is coming to his own. Ron Holland put on, I think, 13 or 15 pounds in the offseason. He's going to be much stronger in his second year, and I think he has a lot of shades of a young Jaylen Brown where he can defend at a very high level. He can get to the basket, and I've really loved the Duncan Robinson and the Karis LeVert signings. I think they're more reliable than the two vets that they relied on last year, and Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. I think Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert is a major upgrade over that. And
Let's not
Dennis
get carried
Schroeder too.
away.
You know, he
No.
yeah, he was somebody that was they relied upon too. So I'm looking at the Pistons and I kind of feel like taking it a little bit, but I can also see a regression because they did not make a move like getting Desmond Bain or getting Kristaps Porzingis. They're trusting their internal development all the way, and we'll see what ends up working out for them.
I'm taking the over. I think they're going to be a lot closer to 50 wins than people think, especially with the bottom 9 or 10 in the East. I keep repeating the same thing over and over, but they did. They had the season they had last year with Ivy missing the back half of it. Ivy was having that sort of breakout year, and then the reason they went out and got Dennis Schroeder, and the reason Dennis Schroeder played on his third team of the season is to replace those Ivy minutes. Now the reason they're letting Schroeder walk to Sacramento is because Jaden Ivey is back, and I think he is an upgrade there. As far as the other role players, I don't see any type of major upgrade there, but I'm betting on Cade's development, on Jaden Ivey's development, Ron Holland gaining the pounds that you had mentioned, and Tobias Harris is a great veteran. As much as Philly fans want to shit on him, he has been a good locker room guy for that team. Another older
I didn't
team.
even mention Asura Thompson.
Oh yeah,
Asura
Asar
Thompson
Thompson. Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I think yeah, I can't wait to see what he does as well. Golden State Warriors are another older team out in the West, 45.5 wins. How do you see that going?
I think there's a lot of risk in Golden State because they're so old, and one injury to any other three players is going to tank their season, I think, for any extended period of time. But I'm going to go over. I'm going to trust what I saw. This was one of the best teams in the West after the Jimmy Butler trade, post All-Star break, a top five net rating in the playoffs. They looked really good. Houston took them to 7, but the Warriors were up 3-1 in that series before they lost two straight. And they dealt with injuries to Steph, and with Jimmy Butler had an injury too early in that series. And then in the second round, had Steph stayed healthy, maybe they give Minnesota a better run for their money. I think I'm going to go over on this. I just trust what they did in the second half. They looked unbeatable some nights with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry.
I'm going to take the under, but it's just slightly. I can see this team winning 45, 44 games easily. There's no big man on this roster outside of Quentin Post. Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, at the age they're at, they don't have the best chance to make it through an 82 game season unscathed. The Kaminga situation is still not resolved. It's highly doubtful if they get some type of good return for him if they move on. He doesn't want to be there, so I don't know what the likelihood of them bringing him back in is. That whole dynamic is bizarre, not to mention they have not signed Al Horford yet. So until some of these dominoes fall, I'm taking the softer side of this, and I'm taking the under.
It makes sense. I mean, they're old and they're injury prone.
Yeah,
I understand it.
for sure. Let's get into the Houston Rockets. 55.5. To me, this is a perfect number for them. I'm going to say under again, but just not by much. I think their depth, they're going to be right at a middle 50 win team, 55, 56, 54, 57, however you want to say it. It's a perfect number for them. I'm just going to take the under by flipping a coin. What about you?
This is about whether or not you believe the Rockets can win games without Kevin Durant. Because I think Kevin Durant's going to miss 20 to 30 games this year. He plays around 50 to 60 games in the past couple of seasons. That's the number that he's usually at. So do you think that in his absence, they can win with Şengün and Amen Thompson getting those valuable reps and the depth they have? And I think they can. And I think that even without KD, they'll be able to win games in a regular season. You can, hey, KD, we don't need you versus the Hornets on a Wednesday night. You know, Alperen Şengün and Amen Thompson can beat these guys. We don't need you against the Utah Jazz. You can sit out. So I think that they're going to go over this number.
And that's why they tripled down on depth, too. I think they have baked in that mindset of he may miss time, but another guy, Fred VanVleet, can go for 25 to 30 on any given night if he has to do that. So I think they are built for success. That's why it was a coin flip for me. Indiana Pacers, this was an interesting one, 38.5. It's a down Eastern Conference this year, but I'm excited to see Nembhard and TJ in a bigger role. I think as the season wears on, though, they will miss Miles Turner more and more and more because after that Tyrese injury, they lost not just one starter, but they lost two in the offseason. So I'm taking under.
You make a good point about losing Tyrese and losing Miles Turner as well. I just think this is flat out disrespectful to the team that made the NBA Finals.
I don't.
And this giving a little bit too much sympathy to the Boston Celtics, who got embarrassed in the second round of the playoffs because the Pacers lost two guys, the Celtics lost three players, yet somehow they are projected to win more games than the Pacers. They were at 40 and a half, if I'm not mistaken, and the Pacers are at 38 and a half. The Pacers are quite easily a better roster top to bottom. There's no convincing me otherwise that they're not. The Pacers have a team and have depth that's way better than the Celtics. I think this year is going to be a big test for Andrew Nemhard. In the playoffs, he raises his game, and we're still waiting to see that come to fruition in the regular season. But I think this might be an even bigger test for Benedict Mathurin. Top 10 pick, a scoring machine. You're going to have to take on that scoring load for this team. And Andrew Nemhard is going to probably have to become more of a natural playmaker and play the role of Tyrese. But you still have Pascal Siakam. You still have Aaron Nesmith. I like them getting Jay Huff from the Memphis Grizzlies. I think that's a good solid, serviceable center for 20 minutes a night. I think that's fine. You can put him out there for 20 minutes a night. And then they have another top 10 pick in Jarris Walker, who they are still seeing what he's going to bring to the team. So I think this Patriots team is going to be a winning team. I think they're making the playoffs, and they're going to hit the over on that number. I think that projection is disrespectful.
Wow. You do have a point about their number compared to Boston's number. You were right. Boston's number is 42 and a half. So according to the sportsbook,
oh wow,
Boston is
insane.
Yeah, four more games. I agree with you there. My counter is, who is their starting center? And I swear to God, if you say Jay Huff, I'm opening my patio door and I'm jumping off the balcony, because what I watched is a guy who is, yes, a knockdown 3-point shooter and can have flashes of offensive presence, but the defensive presence is the problem, and why Miles Turner was such a unicorn for this system, because not only could he knock down the shot, but he could defend on the other end next to Pascal Siakam. Jay Huff, I have very deep questions about it, as far as that.
They have Isaiah Jackson that they're getting back.
Okay.
I think that can be their center that plays 20 to 25 minutes.
To me, that's comparable to the Chris Boucher, Luka Garza center that Boston is starting. I'm not saying the numbers should be comparable. You're right. As far as top to bottom roster, Indiana has an overall better roster. Boston has a star power, but in this NBA, I think that the number should be flip-flop. You and I agree with that.
What star power? They just have Pascal Siakam is probably just as good, if not better, than Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown's making $300 million. There's a reason for that. He's won an NBA title. That happened. He is a finals MVP. He outperformed Jason Tatum in that finals.
He was the finals MVP averaging 22.
I'm not going to discount. We're not going to discount.
Pascal Siakam, you can argue. I'm not going to say he was. Actually, I'm not going to argue it. But he won a championship being the second best player on the team. Okay. He did that already.
Okay, but I think player for player, Jaylen Brown is a better player than Pascal Siakam, and that's not a hot take.
I don't think it's a hot take, but I think you can argue for Pascal Siakam being better.
Okay. I don't think we have an argument here. I think we both agree that the Pacers, the number should be above the Celtics. But my point of why it's still as low as it is because they have missed two starters, and I don't know who their starting center is. People are looking at this Pacers team and optimistic because, it's Tyrese got hurt, but Nembhard and TJ McConnell, they have depth at that position, but that's not all that they lost. This Miles Turner thing is going to play a much bigger role than people are talking about next season.
Listen, I agree with you. I think Miles Turner's loss is going to hurt, but Isaiah Jackson coming off that Achilles injury, it's questionable how good he's going to be, but when he played, he is not Nemias Queta. He is not Luka Garza. Isaiah Jackson can rebound, and he could defend at a high level. Those are two things they're going to get out of Isaiah Jackson. So I think they're going to be fine, and they have more depth in Boston. This is not a gap in star power. They have Siakam. They have Jaylen Brown. Then Derek White, I think, is better than any second that the Pacers have. But then you go down a list of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's all Pacers players.
Yes, that's why I'm not arguing here. What I am arguing, yes, I agree with you that the Pacers will probably have a better season than the Celtics. What I'm arguing is I am taking the under on that number, 38.5, because of not only Tyrese, but Miles Turner. I understand the Isaiah Jackson love.
Okay.
I understand the Isaiah Jackson love. I hope it works out, but I'm taking the under on that number. Let's go to Los
I'm
Angeles.
going over.
Okay. Let's go to Los
Easy
Angeles.
over.
Easy.
The Clippers and the Lakers.
Yeah, Clippers and the Lakers. Clippers are 49.5. Lakers are 48.5. For the Lakers, or excuse me, for the Clippers, I'm taking the over. They have the depth to easily be a 50-win team. This could be a mid 50-win team. The playoffs are a different story, and it's a conversation we have already had. But the LA Lakers at 48.5, I'm not taking the over on that. I don't trust Jake LaRavia. I don't trust 40-year-old Marcus Smart, who has played a combined 50 games in the last 2 years. I don't trust Gabe Vincent. And the fact that LaRavia, Smart, and Vincent are 3 of the first 4 off your bench is the reason I'm taking the under.
I understand what you did there. You propped up the Clippers, who I'm very high on, by the way. This is no disrespect to the Clippers, but you lowered the Lakers by mentioning their role players. I could do the same thing. You know what? The Clippers, I don't trust Nicholas Batum. I don't trust
That's their 11th
Brook
guy.
Lopez. You know, I don't trust these guys. No. The Clippers to me will go over because I think they will win 50 games or more. They've won 50 games the last 2 seasons, and I think they have a lot of depth. I think they'll be fine. It's not about Gabe Vincent. It's not about Vando. It's not about any other guy like Jake LaRavia. It's about Luka freaking Doncic. And the bottom line is that I trust Luka Doncic. And I trust him to go over that number, and I trust him to lead the Lakers to one of the best seeds in the Western Conference and win MVP this upcoming season. He's going to have the best season of his career, and he's finally going to host up that most valuable player trophy. And Luka Doncic will lead the Lakers to one of the 3 best records in the Western Conference. This is an easy over for me.
Luka love, I'm not against. We will see if the weight loss is a sustainable thing. I look at the men's health cover, and I have seen a shade of that before. What I'm worried about is whenever they're traveling every week and we're 40 games into the season, how clean is that diet? Does he go back into some of the old habits? We shall see. But despite my concerns there, I still think he's going to have an MVP caliber season, finish top 3 in that category, if not win that category. I think Luka will have the numbers he will have because he has to. He will average a career high in pretty much every single category. I'm not against that. But what I am against is the rest of the roster. You're bringing up Brook Lopez and Nicholas Batum, who are the 10th and 11th guys on that roster. What I brought up was 3 of the first 4 guys off the bench. I'm looking at the Clippers bench, and outside of the starting lineup of James Harden, your all-time GOAT, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, and Ivica Zubac, I'm looking at Chris Paul.
You trust Kawhi?
I trust Kawhi in the regular season, and if he
gets hurt, Bradley Beal?
Stop it. I'm looking at this
Chris Paul at 41?
I'm looking at this team, and if they have an injury, which I think they will, looking at the injury history of Kawhi Leonard, I think they can sustain it a lot better. That if a 41-year-old LeBron James go down, the Lakers, the train's going to go off the tracks if LeBron James gets hurt. The train will not go off the tracks if Kawhi Leonard gets hurt. I'm looking at Chris Paul off the bench, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Derek Jones Jr. And yes, then when you get to the 9th and 10th man, you're talking about Brook Lopez and Nicholas Batum. But as far as the bench and a better team, you just talked me into the Pacers over the Celtics because of men 4 through 8. What I'm trying to do is talk you into the Clippers over the Lakers because of men 4 through 8. The star power, yes, Luka Doncic is objectively a better player than anybody on the Clippers. LeBron James is a great co-star. But right now, in a league that values depth over star power, I'm taking the Clippers.
You would seriously go Chris Paul over Gabe Vincent in 2025?
The Clippers have 2 options at backup point guard. Chris Dunn, which worked in the regular season last year, or Chris Paul.
It did.
Yes. Either one.
The Lakers have
either
Marcus
one of those
Smart
guys.
And DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton.
He was a double-double machine last year.
He didn't play last year. Literally, the Trailblazers, a team who had nothing to lose, cut ties with him because he was such a cancer in that locker room.
You want to play for something meaningful. Now he's playing under the bright lights in LA with Luka Doncic. He's a former first overall pick. He's always been a double-double machine. His averages for his career is 15 and 10.
You're gonna look me in the face and say this upcoming season you would take DeAndre Ayton over Ivica Zubac. Stop it.
No, Zubac is better, but DeAndre Ayton is going to be good for the Lakers. I guarantee it.
Yeah, he's going to be good for the Lakers, but the Clippers are going to be better. This is a simple equation. Look at the rest of the NBA and what has worked over the last half a decade. This Clippers team
Lakers.
is built to win in the regular season. Playoff success, we can have another conversation. But as far as the regular season, I think the Clippers are going to outwin the Lakers, and it may not even be close.
I got the Lakers.
I think you haven't. What I think is that I've had to suffer through Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia. You haven't. And the fact that if I was looking at this Grizzlies team and they were the first two guys off my bench, it would be tough sledding. Speaking of my Grizzlies, let's talk about them. 40 and a half.
Oh, this under. I don't even know. Have to know the number. What's the number?
40 and a half.
Oh, okay. I'll go over on this. This is a reasonable over.
Yeah. To me, it's not crazy that the Grizzlies will be above 500.
No,
I think
they should be.
Yeah, they should be. And I may go place this right now. 40 and a half is a deplorable number for this team. I'm not saying
I
they're
can
going to
see
be
41 and 41.
I think 45 is more realistic. I'm not going to sit here and get delusional about 50-win season, but I think a mid-40s team is what this team is. It's going to be a tough Western Conference. I think they have adapted as far as stylistically on looking at the landscape of the NBA, what works, its depth. They went out and made it apparent to go get that. Hopefully Cedric Cower can turn into something, but they have real role players around their stars now. This all starts with Ja Morant's health. I'm not going to sit here and predict that. What I am looking at right now is this summer is the closest version to the 2022 Ja Morant that everybody fell in love with as far as happiness level, as far as staying out of headlines level. I think he has the best head on his shoulder he has had in 3 years. Hopefully that pays off. Jaren Jackson has gotten paid. He is dealing with an injury. Injuries would be the reason they are not 500. I am just taking the over on this because to me, if they are healthy, it's insane to me that they would not be or have a winning record.
I think they have too much talent not to be a 500 team.
What was that?
I think it'd be very disappointing. They have too much talent not to be a 500 team. Okay. At the very least. Be a ninth seed, be in the play-in hunt, be one of those teams. I think they have enough to do so. So I would be shocked if they went under this number.
Last week I had made up a game. It was like fill in the blank. And one of them was the Grizzlies will finish blank in the West. And it was all these like little gaslighting fill in the blank questions for us. And we will go back over them at some point. The Knicks were in there. Everything that we disagree about was in there. So I can't wait to circle back on that. But let's go back to the East. I'm going to name off two teams, the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Heat's number is 38.5. The Bucks number is 42.5. How do you feel about those two?
If Giannis plays the whole season, I think the Bucks go over that just off the strength of how great he is.
Yep.
The Heat is tricky because they made the play-in, but without Jimmy Butler, there was a stretch there where they went on like a 10-game losing streak, if not like a 9-game losing streak. They couldn't win any games, and their offense was putrid. It was so bad. So I think that even with Harrell becoming an all-star, those numbers kind of feel empty when the offensive output in total and the offensive rating numbers aren't good at all. They're one of the worst offenses in the NBA, and that could be because there's just nothing around Hero, and that's being fair to him. But the defense is what carries this team. I just think that they just feel very meh to me. I'm going to go under on this. I think they finished with less than 38.5.
Yeah, you and I see eye to eye on both of these. The Miami Heat taking the under 38.5. What does Norman Powell really change next to Andrew Wiggins? That in itself,
I forgot that Powell came.
Yeah, he came, but next to Andrew Wiggins, that is a very, very clunky fit. Bam Adebayo, I don't want to say it was a step back last season, but as far as like all NBA caliber, I think it was a minor, second in reverse for him. So we shall see. Let's go to the West. Minnesota Timberwolves and the Pelicans. Two opposite teams on other ends of the spectrum. Timberwolves 49.5. Pelicans is 29.5. How do you see these two playing out?
Pelicans has a chance to be a bargain if Zion is healthy. I think 60 games and they go over this number for Zion. I'm going to go over with the Pelicans. I just think they have a lot of talent, and I do think that Zion is going to be on the court more this upcoming season, especially with the healthy Herb Jones, healthy Trey Murphy. I think they should be good. And then for the Timberwolves, 50 wins, I think it's reasonable for them. I mean, they've done that the last couple of seasons. They didn't do it this past season. They were pretty damn close to it. I think they were at 49, so they were just one game shy, but that was with Randall missing time due to injury. And I think that they've built up more chemistry to where the beginning of the season might not be such a slow start. So I'm going to go over on Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Timberwolves losing. Nickeil Alexander-Walker hurts. Obviously, brought back Nas and Julius. It's good enough for 50 wins easily. Pelicans, you can talk about that bargain all you want. I think it's a bargain on the under. Atlanta Hawks fans are going to be watching every game, and I would too if I were them. You mentioned the guys they have healthy. Unhealthy is DeJounte Murray. Unhealthy is Jordan Poole, possibly as your point guard. Unhealthy is Derek Queen, who has already been injured next to Zion Williamson. I don't know where this team is going. I don't care if Zion is healthy. The pieces around him make absolutely zero sense. At least, over the last 2 to 3 years when David Griffin, when this was his regime, we could look at that team and say, if they were healthy on paper, it would make sense. Then he made the DeJounte trade, didn't make a lot of sense. Now this new regime has came in here and made one of the worst draft night trades in NBA history, didn't make a lot of sense. Then they traded for Jordan Poole, didn't make a lot of sense. I don't care if he plays 60 games or not. They're not winning over 29 and a half games.
So be serious with me. Jordan Poole, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson, and Yves Missi doesn't get you 30 wins.
No, not in this Western Conference. And I don't know what you think Jordan Poole is, but maybe just because you don't have Discovery Plus, you didn't watch him with the Washington Wizards. But I think as far as a move that you can make, that was the most underrated, horrible move of the offseason because you have 2 years left on that contract. At least with the CJ McCollum thing, it was money off the books. Now you have tied yourself to Jordan Poole, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And I envision him next to Zion Williamson. I can see the dribble, and shit not running through Zion. We shall see, but I think the rest of the pieces, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, yes, those are good fits, but if there's nobody running point guard, none of it matters.
Okay. I think 38 and a half under that is it's a lot. It's a lot to bank on to just them not being healthy. I think that
How is that a lot? It's happened the last
a
5 years, Joel. How is that a lot to bank on?
just 2 seasons ago they were in the playoffs.
They were it was a play-in game where Zion ironically gets injured and
They were the 8th seed.
yes, yeah, they were. They ended up playing Oklahoma City.
They were a top 5 seed before BI got hurt.
This is a different West, bro. Like all of these moves that have happened, it is a much deeper conference than even it was at the time.
I understand. I'm not saying the Pelicans are going to be one of the 6 best teams in the West. I'm saying they're going to finish with at least 31 wins.
That's fair. That's fair. I just don't see it happening like that. I see this as an ultimate train wreck and Zion demanding a trade midseason.
Okay.
Do you think he's excited genuinely to play with Jordan Poole?
I don't think he's excited to play with Jordan Poole. I just think that healthy Zion Williamson is one of the best players in the planet. And I think that if he gives you 60 games, you will win 31 of those.
He was healthy for most of the season last year. He did not sniff an All-NBA appearance. Hell, he didn't even sniff an All-Star appearance. So when he is healthy, which he was last year, it did not contribute to winning.
30 games last year.
And it did not contribute. It was the front half of the season where he could have been voted an All-Star, and he was not. He was not close.
He played 30 games, and he averaged 25.
Okay, that happened. But it's not one of the – I don't look at him up there with Jokic and all the other guys. You said one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, one of the 15 best players in the world, absolutely. He's better than Jaylen Brown. When he's healthy, he's better than Jaylen Brown. Yes, he is.
If I'm a Celtics fan, next to Jason Tatum, would I rather have Jaylen Brown or Zion Williamson? To me, it's Jaylen Brown.
If you are taking into account the health, yes. But if we're just saying they're all healthy, no, give me Zion.
I'm taking Jaylen Brown.
No, I'm going with Zion. I think that Zion is underrated.
Okay, that's fair. I think he's overrated. Let's talk about your New York Knicks. 53 and a half.
Oh, that's an easy over. We're going to be a close to 60-win team.
Yes.
And we're going to win the Eastern Conference. We're going to the NBA Finals. That's what we're going to do.
Yes. I'm glad we haven't talked in 2 weeks. You've changed your tune on this.
Oh, yeah, I have. I've gotten some sleep.
Good. I'm proud of you. Over. I agree. It's a 60-win team. I can't wait to watch them succeed and watch your journey along with it. That was very rewarding in the playoffs last year. Continuing to refresh my feed and waiting for that video to pop up. So hopefully they eventually go to the NBA Finals. All right, I'm going to give you two teams here. One from the West, one from the East. Thunder, 62 and a half. Magic, 50 and a half.
I like the Magic one here. I feel like there's kind of four teams in the East that I think are over 50 wins. I think that's the Hawks, that's the Magic, Knicks, and Cavs. So I'm gonna go over on that. How about you?
For the Magic, I'm going over as well, and it's mostly due to the conference. Thunder, I'm taking the under. 62 and a half is just a lot. I think they can easily win 60 games, but 63 is a high number, especially after you have already climbed that mountain of winning the NBA title. We saw it with the Boston Celtics. There was a little bit of lack of focus throughout the dog days of last regular season. Something could creep in with that. I think the Thunder overall a lot better team than Boston was, but 63 is just a lot.
I agree with you. And what's the other team?
Thunder was 62 and a half. Magic was 50 and a half.
Well, the Thunder won 67 games with no chat for most of the year. I kind of feel like unless they're going to coast the regular season, this should be another dominant regular season for them. There's no reason why they should take a step back.
I don't think it's a step back. I think it's the reality of already winning the title. How much emphasis are they going to put on the regular season yet again? That is my argument. I don't think it's any type of step back, but I understand what you're saying from the Chet perspective. Completely understand. The most interesting team on this list is the 23rd team. We got 7 left. Is the 76ers, 41 and a half. I'm taking the over. It's not because I'm betting on Joel's health or the health of Paul George and his resurgence. I'm betting on the young guys. I believe in Maxey, McCain, and VJ Edgecombe. Do you feel the same way?
This is tough. I think I'm assuming they're projected to what's the number again?
41 and a half.
41 and a half. So they're projected just to make it, just to be there.
Yeah.
This is on Embiid. This is really on Embiid. If Embiid is not playing, they're going well under this number. If Embiid plays half the season, they're going well under this number.
Mhm.
I don't trust Paul George at this stage in his career anymore. And Joel Embiid's lingering knee issues gives me a lot of caution. I kind of feel like how you felt like with the Pelicans, where the Pelicans feel like a dumpster fire. And I understand in that direction, the house is burning. Don't go near there. If they're a dumpster fire, I feel like the Philadelphia 76ers are evacuating the building already. I think that's why they're going all in on this young core because you can't trust Paul George. You can't trust Joel Embiid's health. This team, to me, has the biggest potential to completely erode and just fall off a cliff like it did last year. And that's kind of making me feel like I'm going to go under on this because I think even if you have Maxey, McCain, and Edgecombe, I don't think they're enough to get you to 41 wins if Embiid is playing half the season or less.
It's a fair point. Fair point. It's a complete bet on his health. I'm going to run through 5 of these lower tier teams, and we're going to finish it off with the Spurs. First one up, rapid fire here. Suns is 31 and a half. I'm taking the under.
This feels like an under. I love Devin Booker. I kind of don't want to do him like this, but the Pelicans kind of have more talent than the Suns, so I'm going to go under here.
Blazers at 33 and a half.
I like the over. I think they showcase that they can be a frisky team. 34, 35 wins, I think is fine for them. And they're going to be a defensive first team and have that identity, and bringing in Drew Holiday is going to help them win now.
I agree. Sacramento Kings, 35 and a half. I'm taking the under, and it's not even close.
I feel like I will go slightly over. This feels like one of those teams that's going to be knocking at the play-in door. They have talent on their team. It's not high-end talent, but Sabonis, Levine, Malik Monk, that's not nothing. Keegan Murray, DeMar DeRozan, that's not nothing. It's not spectacular, but I think it's enough to keep them in the hunt. I'm going to go over.
Toronto Raptors, 37 and a half.
I actually like the Raptors this year. I think you get a healthy Brandon Ingram. I think they're going to finish with a better record than Boston. I do. I like the Raptors. I'm going over on this.
I'm gonna take the over for a very different reason. It's just that bottom tier of the East. That's who they're going to be competing with, and I think they'll come up on top. I think they could make the playoffs if everything breaks right. Jazz 18 and a half, Wizards 20 and a half. I'm taking the under on the Jazz, over on the Wizards.
The Wizards, I feel like I'm gonna go over because they have some veteranship. The Jazz, I'm gonna go under. I don't really like the talent on there. I think Kyle Filipowski might be their best young player.
I agree. All right, the San Antonio Spurs, last one, 43 and a half. I'm taking the over on this. To me, it's time for Wemby to start winning. I think he feels that exact same way. I will say, side note, Fox extension I wasn't crazy about. I think this version of him, it's hard to imagine him as an all NBA point guard on any of the 30 teams in the NBA. So why lock him in at that all NBA rate, which will basically become an untradeable contract if something pops with Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. I think for now, giving him money, paying him, it was just a number that was kind of sticker shock for me. But I'm taking the over on 43 and a half this year.
I'm gonna go over, and if Luka wasn't my MVP pick, Victor Wembanyama would be. And I'm gonna have two MVP picks this season. It's gonna be Luka and Wembanyama, the co-MVPs this year, buddy. That's what I'm going with. Victor Wembanyama. I think I've seen how he's training in the offseason with the
Yep.
Monks, now with
Yep.
Kevin Garnett. I'm all in on Wemby. I'm sipping the Kool-Aid that he's gonna lead the Spurs to the playoffs this year. And De'Aaron Fox is going to silence a lot of critics this year with his performance, with people that are side-eyeing that contract when the Spurs aren't paying nobody. And I don't think that you got to be so quick to rush prospects all the time. You don't have to know if Dylan Harper is a star right now. He could come off the bench and play a James Harden role like he did with OKC. He could contribute that way. He doesn't have to be the star player right away. I think De'Aaron Fox is going to be that star next to Wembanyama this upcoming season, and he's going to have a fantastic year. So I'm going over on this.
One of my fill in the blanks last week was Wemby will average blank next season. Obviously, you look at the rookie year, it's 20 points per game. Last year, before the blood clots, I think it was 24 points a game. I said next year it will be 32 points a game. His third year leap is just exponentially so much bigger than everyone else's. Usually we're talking about a third year leap and an 18-point score going up to a 27 or 26 point per game score. Now 24 to 32 doesn't seem that crazy. Hopefully you agree with that. And what do you see him averaging points wise next season?
I see 28, 29 a
Fair.
night with like 12 rebounds,
Block's going to be
four
crazy.
assists.
Yeah.
Yeah, three plus blocks
Yep.
a
Yep.
game, maybe
Yep.
four.
I can get on that. Joel, before we get out of here, I had to congratulate you on Pick Aside, 500th episode there. Very big accomplishment, and been an honor watching the run, and can't wait for 500 more, bro.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, I will see you next week. Thank you for taking the time, dog.
Yes, sir. Anytime.